A soft blue dawn slipped through the shutters of Kieran's loft, but the boy was already awake, hanging upside down from the rafters. The joists near the peak of the cottage roof were almost weightless this time of year, and he liked to practice morning stretches where the world felt like a dream. A single twitch of his ankle sent him drifting toward the floor, where the pull of the island's gravity ran thicker, like syrup on a cold plate. He flipped, landed lightly, and laughed as the sensation clung to his boots. Outside, the slopes of Tilmara Isle shone with dew and half-lit clouds. Ribbons of mist swirled between gumwood trunks, drawing white lines that revealed the unseen currents of weight that pooled in every fold of the land. Here, gravity behaved like rainfall. It spilled from the peaks, trickled down ravines, and gathered in blue-green basins, whose grass bent low under its pressure. The islanders had learned to map those invisible waters by memory. A ridge where pebbles floated, a hollow where knees buckled, a meadow where a tossed stone fell as slow as dandelion floss. Kieran's grandmother, old Nara, waited in the yard with 2 willow baskets and a bundle of crystal carafes. She stood inside a chalk circle to steady herself. The lawn sat on the seam of a recent gravity surge, and a careless step could tip a person into molasses weight. Her cane hummed, its iron tip skimming the ground until she found the easier current. "Morning, grandson," she said. "The North Pool is full. The drip charts say today's harvest will fill 4 crates, maybe 5. Kieran's eyes lit. The floating city of Altara had wired yesterday, pleading for an urgent shipment. Their chassis engines needed dense toric units, the bottled gravity, to keep the metropolis from drifting past the trade winds. Each flask sold for 7 steel sovereignties, more than enough to replace the roof shingles that cyclones had torn away last month. Yet profit alone did not push Kieran out the gate. Curiosity did. He had never seen Altara up close. From the cliffs, one could spot its silver docks and sunlit terraces gliding miles overhead, buoyed by balloons of fireweed silk. Merchants claimed you could walk barefoot there, without ever feeling the weight of regret. Kieran wanted to test that rumor. The boy and his grandmother followed the ribbon path down the hillside, careful to stay within thin streams of moderate gravity. The vegetation guided them. High-gravity ferns knelt low, their fronds flattened. Low-gravity briars reached upward, twirling weightless blossoms like kites. Here and there, a pocket eddied so sharply that stones floated chest-high, spinning lazily. Nara scooped one as a walking token and let it orbit her shoulders. Farther ahead, the North Pool revealed itself, a shallow valley carpeted in silver moss, where gravity lay deep and viscous. Morning sun glittered off an invisible lake. Every footstep grew heavy, and the air itself felt thick enough to chew. Around the rim, 6 villagers had already staked siphons, reed-thin pipes made of calcite glass that could absorb the dense flow without cracking. Jaro, the village alder, waved. His beard trailed behind him, curling upward in a spot of lesser weight. "Watch your ballast," he called. "She's running strong after last night's springtide." Nara nodded. Her eyes, the color of tarnished copper, measured the currents with invisible instruments. "Kieran, set the first receiver on that limestone knoll," she ordered. "The gravity is highest near bedrock seams." Kieran placed a globe-bottomed carafe onto the moss, twisted the siphon tip until it shimmered, and watched as liquid darkness sluiced in. Though there was nothing to see, gravity had no pigment. Tiny spirals of dust inside the glass twirled faster, snared by the gathering force. Within minutes, the bottle weighed as much as a boulder. The boy braced his knees and hauled it to the wagon. By midday, the team had filled 23 bottles. Each groaned with compressed pull, a microcosm of heavy valleys trapped behind cork and seal wax. The villagers wrapped them in rope nets so the crates would not smash through the floorboards. Kieran wiped his brow. Sweat fell faster here. Droplets sank to earth with purpose, as though homesick. He glanced at the high swells of ridge to the west, where birds soared almost weightless above the tree line. If only he could hitch a ride with the shipment. Nara seemed to read his thoughts. "You've earned a place aboard the courier's dirigible," she murmured. "But payment first. Every bottle must reach Altara's docks. Once we sign ledger, then you may wander." Evening painted the sky in glassy pinks. A brass-ribbed airship drifted down from the sunbelt. Altara's courier, the luminous Wren. Its hull glimmered with mother-of-pearl plating, and gyroscopic rings spun around its equator like halos. Captain Maris, a wiry woman with a star-shaped tattoo between her brows, saluted the islanders. 4 deckhands fanned out, their boots magnetized to the gondola floor to counter the feeble gravity up high. "Price is double," Nara announced, before pleasantries finished. She opened the crate lids. The concentrated pull tugged at the courier's mooring tethers with greedy force. "Your city leaked ballast last quarter. Our springs don't replenish overnight." Maris grimaced, but handed over a satchel of steel coins. She studied the younger faces among the gatherers. "Who's the apprentice?" "Me," Kieran said, chest puffed. "Then clock yourself aboard." The captain tossed him a copper pass token. "We sail before moonrise." A thrill buckled Kieran's knees harder than any gravity swell. He raced to pack a small bundle, journal, compass, pocket flute, and a cloth pouch of cliff salt biscuits. Nara clasped his shoulders. "Remember, gravity is fickle. You cannot carry a valley's weight in your heart. Let it flow, or it will drown you." He promised he would remember, though he scarcely understood. The luminous Wren lifted, her envelope swelling like a dawn-colored lung. Kieran leaned over the rail. Tilmara shrank below, its hills draped in rivers of invisible force that shimmered only where mist and moonlight kissed. As they ascended, weight grew lighter. Soon he could hop the full deck length in a single stride. Stomach fluttering, he helped secure the crates in the hold, each one chained to the main spar. Night settled, full of stars that seemed anchored by the barest string. Altara approached, a gargantuan cluster of platforms, towers, and gardens, tethered beneath levitating pylons. Lanterns traced golden constellations across its breadth, while fleets of delivery balloons zipped like fireflies. The Wren slid into a receiving bay, where muscular dockhands, clad in lead-lined vests, braced themselves against the incoming pull of the cargo. Ledger signed, Nara's coins collected, Kieran slipped into the city's arteries. He expected wonder, and he found it. Avenues of cloud glass where citizens strolled with umbrellas not for rain, but to shield themselves from stray vertigo. Market stalls sold bouquets weighted to droop in elegant arcs. Musicians floated by, each note of their harps colliding with the half-gravity air in shimmering chords. But beneath the marvel, a tension gnawed. Support pylons groaned. Street drains exhaled thin gusts, as though the city itself were short of breath. At the civic square, Kieran spotted municipal engineers unrolling maps across an opal fountain. Their voices quivered with urgency. "Even with Tilmara's shipment, reserves are still falling. If core basin levels drop another 7 units, East Quarter will tilt." The phrase stung him. Tilmara's springs had felt different lately, pulses ebbing in unpredictable rhythms. Could the island be running dry? Curiosity pulled him onward, through onion-domed archives and spiral walkways,
until he arrived at a steel lattice balcony overlooking the lowermost pylon. A mass of chain weights hung there, gleaming with fresh polish, but they jerked fitfully. He overheard a pair of technicians. "Something's draining ballast faster than we anchor it, like a leak in the world's pocket." From his coat, Kieran produced the small field compass he always carried. The instrument didn't point north. Instead, its needle aligned to the nearest source of heaviest local gravity. Presently it spun not downward into the pylon reservoir, but sideways, toward a narrow maintenance hatch. Instinct, that troublesome lantern in every young heart, prompted him to open the hatch. Inside stretched a dim catwalk, rattling faintly. Kieran crept forward until the corridor widened into a chamber where glass conduits ran like arteries. They glowed faint blue, gravity channels. Yet one main artery pulsed erratically, each surge followed by a vacuuming gulp that tugged at his teeth. Someone had tapped the flow. A silhouette leaned against a valve wheel, a woman in shimmering gray, eyes bright as cut quartz. "Might step back," she warned without turning. "Pressure spikes could wrench your spine clean." She twisted a wrench, siphoning a liquid shadow into a ceramic coil. Kieran recognized the uniform, Altara's upper ministry. "You're bleeding ballast," he accused. "The city is starving while you hoard." "Not hoarding. Researching." She secured the coil in a padded satchel. "We study how to reverse flow. Imagine fountains of negative weight to lift drought ships, end famine, ferry medicine across mountains. But yes, progress demands raw force." "At the cost of tipping villages below?" he demanded. "Our island barely sleeps for fear springs will fail." The woman hesitated, assessing him. "Supplies are scarce. If Tilmara cannot keep up, why not find new wells?"
"Because gravity doesn't appear from nowhere," Kieran said, echoing Nyera. "It travels. If you dam it, rivers downstream die." A tremor rattled the conduits. Alarms rang far away. Altara listed a fraction west. The woman cursed and closed her satchel. "Too much draw. I must present findings to the council and secure emergency stabilizers." She brushed past him. Kieran followed. "Your council won't hear a village boy, but take me to them. My people know where the springs rise." She stopped. "Name: Kieran of Tilmara." "Iceland Vale, Deputy Archivist." She extended a gloved hand. "Very well, Kieran, but we have little time." They emerged into the grand atrium, where city elders argued beneath a stained glass dome. The floor tilted enough that marbles rolled toward the western wall, yet the council still debated protocol. Iceland flung her satchel onto the dais. "Deputies, our stabilizer drains are compromised. Unauthorized research, my research," she admitted, "has exacerbated the deficit. We need an alternate supply or we must jettison mass." An uproar ensued. Jettisoning meant cutting free entire districts. Kieran stepped forward. "I know where gravity wells are born, higher than our peaks, beyond the Sea of Zephyrs. One rose 3 nights past beneath Tilmara's eastern ridge. If we guide your channels there, both city and island might share the tide without bottling it blind." Skepticism flickered across wizened faces. "And you propose we simply redirect a river of weight?" An elder scoffed. "Yes," Kieran said, surprising even himself. "Like irrigating fields. We can carve sluices through skyrock layers, feeding excess to your pylons transiently. But we must start now, before dawn drafts change." His confidence owed itself to hours spent helping Nara chart flows. Yet still, doubts fluttered. He braced for laughter. Instead, Iceland nodded. "A boy speaks wiser than scholars. Grant me portable conduits and a survey wing. This is our best chance." Within minutes, Kieran found himself aboard a scout glider with Iceland and 4 engineers. Steel lattices whirred under gossamer sails as they descended toward Tilmara's shadow. Though fatigue clawed his eyelids, excitement blazed. They landed on the isle's eastern ridge at first light. Naira waited, leaning on her cane like a sentinel who knew the script before it was written. "Grandmother," Kieran exclaimed. She appraised Iceland's crew. "I felt the sky wobble," she said. "Figures someone upstream built an unwise dam." She tapped the ground. "The new spring is restless. Follow." Through amber grasses they approached a scar in the hillside, where boulders hovered inches above soil, spinning slow as moons. Air tightened. Each breath weighed more. In the center, a shimmering distortion rose from the earth, an artesian geyser of gravity, visible only by the way motes of dust plunged into it. Naira pointed her cane. "There, the mother well. Fresh, untamed. Feed her wrong, she'll swallow the village. Feed her right, she gifts abundance." Iceland signaled her team to unpack collapsible conduits. Silver tubes rhymed with sapphire runes. They anchored one end beside the well, the other to anti-grav skiffs hovering overhead, ready to relay force to Altara. But as they prepared, fissures cracked along the valley walls, the newborn well gorged on surrounding weight, threatening landslip. Kieran's compass spun wildly, its needle a frantic hummingbird. Engineers shouted. "Flow is too strong," Iceland cried. "Valves will rupture." Kieran remembered Nera's warnings. Let it flow. Gravity was like water. Damming made flood. "We need spillways," he yelled. "Dig channels downslope, divert excess into the sea trenches." With no heavy machinery, they used what they had, axes, shovels, and cunning. Kieran sprinted to a line of basalt crags where the pull was weaker. There, stones were light enough to lift. He and 2 islanders pried them loose, creating a gash that led toward a natural ravine. Naira chanted an old tide prayer, stepping into the rim of the geyser, her figure bowed but unbroken. She planted her cane and pivoted, guiding the invisible torrent like a shepherd herding sheepdog. The geyser's roar pitched downward, following the new route. Dust devils spun as the valley equalized. Conduits settled, drawing a steady pulse. Some into Altara's waiting skiffs, much toward the sea where it could rejoin global currents unthrottled. The trembling stopped. Birds returned to the sky, testing the recovered lift with tentative wings. Iceland's expression bloomed from panic into awe. She clasped Kieran's shoulder. "You read the land like scripture," she said. "Thank you." Back aboard the skiff, they relayed data to Altara. Pylon reservoirs swelled in measured increments. The floating city straightened, its groans subsiding into size. No district was jettisoned. Days later, a festival erupted on both island and Sky City, linked by signal lanterns. For the first time, Altara's council ratified a charter. Gravity rights, shared stewardship, transparent quotas. Researchers would monitor wells with island sages, and profit would be balanced by restoration levy. At sunset, Nera sat upon a weightless stone ledge, weaving reed-thin strands of glass into new siphons. Kieran joined her, feet dangling over a drop, where down and up felt negotiable. "You see, boy," she said, handing him a half-finished vial. "Gravity isn't just pull. It's connection. It reminds us we are never alone. Someone, somewhere, feels the other end of every tug." Kieran smiled. He held the glass to the dying light, watching sunbeams refract across its surface. Once, he'd thought of gravity only as something to bottle and sell, a commodity heavier than gold. Now he knew it was also river, heartbeat, dialogue between earth and sky. "Grandmother," he said,
I think I'd like to study flowcraft properly. Maybe travel with Iceland, help map other springs. Explore, she agreed, but remember where your feet belong when weight returns. That night, Altara hovered low over Tilmara, tethered by shining conduits that looked for all the world like musical strings. From below, villagers danced amid lanterns that drifted up, paused mid-air, and drifted back down in gentle arcs. From above, citizens of the sky leaned over railings, tossing braided blossom garlands that never quite decided which direction to fall. Kieran stood on the ridge between them, a boy balanced at the hinge of two worlds, listening as gravity flowed around his ankles like warm tidewater. He raised his flute and played a single note. Sound rose, curved, returned, and rose again, caught in the slow current of a living, breathing force. He smiled, certain that wherever the rivers of gravity led, he would follow, guided by the pulse of an island that taught him how to let go, and the song of a sky city that reminded him how to hold on.